What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 281. We have Israel Adesanya going against Alex Pereira.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we're back for another Draftkings Picks video this week, breaking down a phenomenal card, 14 fight card, UFC 281, just stacked from top to bottom. I think it's going to be a very fun one, not only from a fan perspective, but from a Draftkings perspective as well. I think there's a lot of big DraftKings scores coming our way, lots of finishes coming our way, so yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Before we get started and get into the picks, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Be sure to also sign up on DFSbythenumbers.com. Go to that MMA DFS tier, $10 a month. With that, you get access to all my stats. You get my MMA Optimizer, my DFS article, which is already out. All the projections, the rankings, they're already out. Was able to get everything done pretty early. Typically, that's the case on pay-per-view cards, since DraftKings typically does get those salaries out early. So everything's out, everything's updated, ready to go. So make sure you guys check out DFSbythenumbers.com if you do want some extra content. But I say we get into it here, and as always, we're going to start with our fight doesn't go to decision lines. These are the most likely fights to end inside the distance on the card, and we're going to see if we want to target some of these, and I think we're going to want to for sure. We have the first one, Ryan Spann going against Dominic Reyes, and we have minus 325, fight doesn't go to decision. Yeah, I think somebody gets finished here. Ryan Spann is a kill or be killed fighter. But man, I think it's such a winnable matchup for Dominic Reyes. There are just these red flags, these question marks with Dominic Reyes. Of course, he's on a 3-fight skid, but he's losing to very good guys, so I don't want to put that against him too much. But he's a year and a half layoff for Dominic Reyes. But he really should win this fight. Phenomenal takedown defense, the much better striker. Ryan Spann, I don't trust his chin. I don't think he's the best striker. I mean, he got outstruck by Sam Alvey just a couple fights ago at times. He got hurt by Sam Alvey, got trapped twice by Anthony Smith. I think Dominic Reyes finishes Ryan Spann in the very first round. So I do like Dominic Reyes, but, Ryan Spann, this is a light heavyweight fight. Ryan Spann's super cheap. Ryan Spann, it's only $6,900. Reyes is taking that layoff. I do question, Reyes' motivation. Reyes has been knocked out twice. So, I think Ryan Spann definitely is, live to finish Dominic Reyes at some point in this fight. It's just I really do think that if Dominic Reyes does show up and he's ready to go, he should win this fight. But, yeah, definitely a great fight to target, and definitely a fight I think finishes inside the distance, whether it's Spann round 1 or Reyes. I think it could be round 1 as well. But as the fight goes on, I think it does favor Dominic Reyes. Dustin Poirier going against Michael Chandler, probably the best fight on the card in my opinion. This is the fight I'm looking forward to the most. We have Dustin Poirier, 8,900, Michael Chandler, 7,300. And I think Chandler's going to be live early in the first round. Very explosive guy, tons of power. But Dustin Poirier, he is hard to knock out. He's very durable. I think Poirier is the better striker. I think Poirier is going to have the much better conditioning, and I think if this fight does get past the first round, it's Poirier all day. But he's going to have to survive those first 5 minutes. So from a DraftKings perspective here, Michael Chandler, 7,300, if you want to take a shot on him for that first round upside, I don't hate that at all. And then Dustin Poirier, I think he's very live to finish Michael Chandler as well. Michael Chandler's been finished 4 times. He's now 36 years old. He's taken a ton of damage. I don't trust his chin. I think Poirier knocks him out, but if you're looking for somebody with that first round upside, and we typically are, Michael Chandler's not the worst dog in the world. All right, this is probably my favorite fight to target on the entire card. We have Ottman Azaitar going against Matt Frevola, and I think this fight plays out one of two ways. The first way is Matt Frevola goes in here and wants to stand and bang with Ottman Azaitar. If he does that, he's getting knocked out. Ottman Azaitar has a ton of power, finishing all but one of his wins. Matt Frevola has been dropped a ton in the UFC. He's been knocked out a ton. I think Ottman Azaitar is very live to knock out Matt Frevola. On the flip side, if Matt Frevola comes in here and wrestles, that's definitely a path to victory. He's going to have the better cardio. He has good wrestling. It's just sometimes he doesn't like to use it. Sometimes he likes to go in there and get into wars, which I would not recommend here for Matt Frevola. So I think if Matt Frevola is to win this fight, it's because he went out there and wrestled. And if he does, those takedowns are going to add up. But if not, if he wants to go out there and strike with Ottman, I think Ottman knocks him out. So this is a fight I can see playing out really either way, but I think both ways score very, very well. And then Andre Petroski going against Wellington Turman. To be honest, not my favorite fight to target in the world. Andre Petroski does have that 100% finish rate, but, against lower level guys, he's taken, almost over 2.5 rounds to finish guys like Yazong Hu and guys like Michael Gilmore. So I'm not sure if that 100% finish rate does stay intact. It'll be very impressive if he does go out there and finish tournament. I think I'm more so looking to the tournament side here in this one at 7,000. I just think the fight's much more closer than these salaries do indicate there. This is going to be the biggest test of Petroski's career. Petroski, I don't trust his cardio. I think Turman's a better striker. And if this fight does extend it, I do favor Wellington Turman. So I think I'm leaning Turman, if anything, here, but not my favorite fight to target in the world. Petroski, like I said, he does have the 100% finish rate, but there's just so many great options up in this 9K range that we'll talk about later in the show. Okay, getting into our core plays, we have Zhang Wei Li, 9,400. I think this is a horrible matchup for Carla Esparza. The line definitely does indicate that. She's a big favorite. I just think, at some point, this fight is going to be on the feet. And when it's on the feet, it's Zhang Wei Li all day by a mile. It's not even close. And I think Carla's going to get hurt bad. And I think Zhang Wei Li finishes Carla. And I think it could be in any round. I think it could be in the first round, the second round, the third. It all depends how much Carla Esparza is going to go out here and wrestle and have success with that wrestling. I just really struggle to see Carla Esparza having success wrestling for 25 straight minutes. I doubt it. But like I said, at some point, they're going to be at range, and Zhang Wei Li is really going to hurt Carla Esparza. So I like Zhang. I like the 5-round aspect of things. I like the finishing upside, and I think she does finish Carla Esparza here. Another core play, Otman Azaitar, 7,700. So what's interesting about Azaitar is we're getting him on DraftKings as an underdog price, but on the money line, he's like minus 125, minus 130. So we are getting some great salary savings here at this price tag. And not only that, I like that, but not only that is this guy's a finisher. This guy hits hard. Matt Frivola's been finished a lot, and if Matt Frivola stands and bangs with this guy, Matt Frivola is going to get knocked out. Otman Azaitar's power is legit. And at 7,700, I love the upside there. So really do like Otman Azaitar. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate, factoring in price tag, upside, all that stuff. Dan Hooker's 8,700. This is another fight I think it's a really good one to target. Me personally, I do like Dan Hooker quite a bit. I think it's a really big step down in competition going from guys like Islam and Arnold Allen to Claudio Poyas. I think Poyas is kind of knee bar or bust here, and it kind of feels a little bit like the Volkan Oezdemir-Paul Craig fight a couple months ago where, Paul Craig is, sub-bust in every single fight, but, this fight especially, I think Claudio Poyas is submission or bust. More specifically, knee bar or bust. I mean, the guy has 3 knee bars, which is impressive, but, Dan Hooker's takedown defense is phenomenal. His ground game is underrated. He's not some bum on the mat. I know we got submitted by Islam Makhachev, but I think we can forgive him that for, short notice. And that was the only time he has been submitted in the UFC. So I do like Dan Hooker to keep this standing and really beat the crap out of Claudio Poyas on the feet. And I think Dan Hooker finishes them. So I do like Dan Hooker, but Claudio Poyas, we'll talk about him a little bit. You gotta play guys like that with that submission upside. And then Israel Adesanya, 8,600. So this is kind of weird. I mean, typically we're used to paying 9,100 for Izzy, 9,200 for Izzy, 9,300 for Izzy, 9,400 for Izzy. Now we're only paying 8,600. So typically when Izzy is up in that high 9,000 range, like 9,300, 400, I will look to fade him at times. But now that he's in that 8,600 range, and then in a fight like this where I don't think Alex Pereira is very defensively responsible, I think he's very hittable. And I think Israel Adesanya can put up a solid score here across 5 rounds, potentially get a late finish as well at 8,600. So yeah, I do like Israel Adesanya. If he was like 9,200, I probably wouldn't like him as much. But since he's only 8,600, we don't typically get to see him at this price tag. I will be having some Israel Adesanya and a decent amount of him as well. I do like him to win the fight. I think Pereira is knockout or bust, and it's definitely possible. Pereira hits like a truck, but is he very defensively sound, very good at avoiding risks, very good at not getting hit clean. I think he picks apart Alex Pereira and maybe eventually finishes him as well. GPP plays here, Aaron Blanchfield, 9,500. Yeah, takedown upside against Molly McCann. Molly McCann, like a 46% takedown defense. We saw Laura Procopio go out there and just ragdoll Molly McCann across 3 rounds, taking her down 7+ times, controlling her for over 10 minutes of the fight. I mean, I think Blanchfield's like double the fighter Procopio is. I think it's a terrible matchup for Molly McCann. I'm shocked she even took the fight. But yeah, Blanchfield, takedown upside, control time upside. She's a black belt in BJJ. I think she has a really good chance to finish Molly McCann. Molly McCann has been finished by a black belt earlier in her career in Jillian Robertson. And yeah, Blanchfield's nasty on top, great ground and pound, great submission ability. I think Blanchfield's very live for that sub. But if not, I think she's very live to go out there and get a ton of takedowns. So I do like Blanchfield, 9,500, very expensive, but rightfully so, biggest favorite on the card. Renato Moicano, 8,300. Yeah, I like the submission upside for Renato Moicano. Brad Riddell, I believe, has been finishing all of his losses, 2 coming by submission. He got submitted in his very last fight against Jalen Turner. And what I noticed about Renato Moicano is something in the past I didn't like about him was the fact that he just wouldn't go for takedowns, which is weird to me because he's such a great grappler. The guy's a wizard on the mat. But nowadays, he's going for those takedowns. He went and took down Jai Herbert multiple times, got the sub. And went and took down Alexander Hernandez multiple times, got the sub. And I think if he comes out here and takes down Brad Riddell, he's very live for that submission and very live to give Brad Riddell his 3rd submission loss. So I do like Moicano. I think his striking's good, but most importantly, I think his grappling's phenomenal. And if he does get the fight down to the mat, I think he's very live for a finish at only 8,300. Dustin Poirier, 8,900. We talked about the fight a little bit. Really just survived those first 5 minutes. I think those 5 minutes are going to be very dangerous for Dustin Poirier, but I do trust the durability. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better fighter at this point. Michael Chandler, 36 years old, about 5 minutes ago. I don't want to say like he's completely done after 5 minutes, but he's most dangerous in the first 5 minutes. After those first 5 minutes, I think Poirier is really going to put it on him and eventually get out Michael Chandler out of there. So I do like Poirier quite a bit, 8,900. And then Matt Frevola, 8,500. Like I said, this is a fight that is must target for me. I'm going to be having a lot of both sides. I'm personally on the Ottman Azaitar side. And he's going to be one of my highest exposed fighters. But, if Matt Frevola comes in here and he does fight smart, he does go for takedowns. I mean, the path to victory is going to score very well. And I don't think many people are going to play Frevola because he is an underdog on the money line and he is 8,500 on DraftKings. So this is a fight that I really like to target. It's going to be my highest exposed fight on the entire card. And I will be having some Matt Frevola, but I'm mostly on the Ottman Azaitar side. Going to our live dogs here, Silvana Gomez Juarez 8,000. Another instance where it's about a pick 'em now. So maybe the line's going to flip in her favor. I see a lot of love for the Juarez side, but if for me, I like Juarez here at 8,000. The power she has for a 115-pound fighter. I mean, it's insane. She has not seen the second round yet in the UFC in those 3 UFC fights, so maybe that changes here. But Carolina, she's only been knocked out once, but she's very hittable, absorbing almost 6 significant strikes per minute. I do still question where Carolina's motivation's at, because I'll be honest, I thought Carolina was going to retire after her last fight, win or lose, and she won it, and she's back. But Carolina's going to have to grapple here to have success, I think, and if it does play out on the feet, I think Juarez is going to get a lot of opportunities to find a KO. So yeah, give me the KO upside, which is weird to say. It's weird to say this, but give me the KO upside for the strawweight fighter and Silvana Gomez Juarez. She hits like a truck. And then Alex Pereira, 7,600. You got 5 rounds to work with here. You have a ton of power. I mean, he's 2-0 against Izzy in kickboxing, right? If he does win the fight, I think it's by knockout. For that reason, I will have some Alex Pereira. I personally do like Adesanya to win, but not like crazy about Adesanya in this matchup. I think Pereira can definitely have success and maybe land a big shot, but I just don't think Adesanya is going to give him a ton of opportunities. But it only takes one. This is MMA. It only takes one. Pereira hits like an absolute truck, and like I said, if he wins, I think it's a big score by knockout. So 7,600, we'll have some Alex Pereira. Claudio Poyas, 7,500. This feels like a Paul Craig play. The old knee bar or bust. This is a guy that can get his ass beat for 12 and a half minutes and pull off a Hail Mary knee bar. He did it before, and maybe he does it again here. But yeah, he's going to have to get the fight down to the mat, whether he's pulling guard, whether he's getting knocked down, whether he's potentially landing a takedown. I mean, if he gets the fight down to the mat, it's his world, and he could potentially submit Dan Hooker. Personally hate the matchup for him, but a guy that is submission or bust like this, the upside is there. So I will have some Poyas for that upside. Wellington Turman, 7,000. Like the price tag here, it's a show me spot for Andre Petroski. It's not sold on the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, Petroski was like, 6,900 his last fight against Nick Maximov. Maximov's like a minus 350 favorite. Now, all of a sudden, Petroski's like a minus 200 favorite, 220 favorite against Wellington Turman. I mean, this is going to be the toughest test for Petroski yet. This is not Michael Gilmore. This is not Zhang Hu. And I still am not sold on the cardio of Petroski. I'm not sold on the striking of Petroski. Wellington Turman does have solid takedown defense. He is a black belt in BJJ. He is the better striker. He has the better cardio. So I think there's a lot of advantages for Wellington Turman, whether he wins or loses, for him to be at only 7,000. So I will take some shots on Wellington Turman this week. And then a couple pump plays. Ryan Spann, 6,900. Light heavyweight fight. Playoff for Dominic Reyes. where's Dominic Reyes' head at? 3-fight skid, whether he's losing to good competition, still 3-fight losing skid. And Ryan Spann hits very hard. He's very dangerous on the mat. I will have some Ryan Spann. I do think Reyes should absolutely win this fight, but you can't completely trust Dominic Reyes. And then Frankie Edgar, 7,100. Yeah, if he wins this fight, I think he scores well. I mean, if he wins this fight, his path to victory is takedowns, control time. We saw him go out there and take down Marlon Vera in the first 2 rounds, arguably won those first 2 rounds. Got kicked in the face in the third, but that was just last fight, was able to win 2 rounds against Marlon Vera, where we saw Chris Gutierrez go out there and he's getting taken down by Cody Durden, and getting 10-8'd, which is not the best look. He lost on one of the judges' scorecards to Felipe Calorish, split decision win against Felipe Calorish, where Calorish was able to get him down, and that's not the best look to me. I mean, I know Frankie's 41 years old, he's washed, this and that, but stylistically, I think this is a matchup he can win as long as his durability holds up, which is again a big if. But at 7,100, I will definitely take some shots on him because gets my fade here. I can't play Chris Gutierrez at this price tag. I think there's way better options. I think I'd rather go to Poirier, who's 200 cheaper. I'd play Zhang Weili, which is 300 more. I would play Dan Hooker, which is 400 less. I would go and play Dominic Reyes, who is 200 more. You get the point. I'd play Blanchfield, who's 400 more. I would even probably play Petrosky, who's 100 more. So, I mean, can't get there. No takedown upside at all. He's not going for takedowns. I don't think he's like a big murderous power puncher either. I think if he gets a knockout, it's going to have to be like an accumulation of damage, so maybe like a 3rd-round finish potentially, if that. So, I mean, I'm fine with fading Chris Gutierrez this week in 9,100. But yeah, guys, we did it. That is it. 14 fights, 14-fight banger. I think it's going to be a phenomenal card, not only from a fan perspective, from a Draftkings perspective. Be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Check out that $10 DFS tier. You get access to all my stats, the optimizer, the article, projections, Discord, lineup percentages, targets, rankings, just a ton of extra content that you do not see on YouTube, so check that out. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and best of luck for UFC 281. See you guys soon.